Next up we have Flappy by DB Soft. This game starts out with a rather helpful and long demonstration screen. Sort of gives you an idea how to actually play this game. Flappy is what we're going to call a Sokoban type game. Sokoban being an extremely popular Japanese computer game that is not very well known in the West. The name Sokoban means something along the lines of shopkeeper or warehouse keeper in Japanese. These games are basically where you push around objects in a maze. There's usually certain rules such as you can only push the objects, not pull them, and you can't push more than one at a time. Just like Lode Runner, Sokoban games require an awful lot of planning and strategy. If you don't plan carefully, you can easily make a fatal error that will prevent you from finishing the level. Now reportedly, this game Flappy is quite popular in Japan. Of course, it was never released in the United States, and is not very well known over here. You also might not be familiar with the name of the developer, DB Soft. These guys were formed around 1980, and they're primarily a computer software developer. They did release a few video games, but really nothing that's particularly noteworthy. In Japan, they're actually pretty notorious for releasing a game called 177. 177 was apparently some sort of rape simulation game that actually got pulled off store shelves by order of the Japanese government. Now, just like Hudson, DB Soft didn't really develop arcade games. They're more of a developer for Japanese computers. Flappy is a port of a game that they released for the Japanese computers originally in 1983. So at any rate, about Flappy. In this game, you control the little yellow dog-like creature, and the object of the game is to get the blue boulder on top of the blue platform. You have to clear the other boulders out of the way in order to do this usually. Now you can crush the boulders by stepping on them, you can roll them one at a time, and you can only push them, you can't pull them. There are also enemies to contend with. Luckily, you can find little mushroom-type things that allow you to shoot a little arrow at them and temporarily paralyze them. They can also be squashed with a rock. As I mentioned earlier, this game is about 95% strategy and planning. And it's not an easy game. A lot of levels are actually quite difficult to figure out, and you will have to put some serious thought into what you're going to do before you start moving boulders around. Once you've gotten the blue boulder onto the blue platform, you then move on to the next level. Altogether, there's 200 levels. Sokoban type games and other strategy games that are similar are actually quite popular in Japan. So we will see several more of these sorts of games on the Famicom in the future. The Japanese seem to have a virtually insatiable appetite for this sort of thing. If you're a fan of Lode Runner and such puzzle maze type games, you might want to check this one out.